So without further ado, we're going to get underway. Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome. Glad you could join us today. This is a third in a series of 4 consecutive Friday webinars that xkzero has been putting on early this summer. The attendance has been tremendous for all of them. And we've had them all at this time, 11 Central, 12 Eastern, on Fridays, and nobody's complained. So hopefully that's a good time for you. Next week, by the way, if you have not signed up for it, Alnor Kasim is going to be presenting an introduction to scripting for Sage 100 webinar. We'll have a little bit more details for you a bit later for that. So hope you're all looking forward to a great weekend, but it's certainly our pleasure to have you spend some time talking with us about mobile technology for ERP. It's an area that's going to continue to grow, and that I hope that over the course of the next probably 45 or 50 minutes that will further strengthen your process for helping your Sage 100 customers with mobile sales apps. We are in listen-only mode, so please type your questions in the space that's provided. We're also recording this webinar, and we will certainly make it available to you after the presentation. So 2 weeks ago, many of you joined a session that we had that was called Choosing the Right Mobile Sales App for Your Business. And today we'll continue to touch on some of those themes as we look a little bit more closely at iSales 100 and how we can help distributors and manufacturing companies grow and continue to be more profitable. So a few highlights for today. We'll look at why iSales 100, some reminders about how to start or get the mobile conversation going with your clients. But then we're going to dive in and we're going to take a look at some specific and unique challenges, industry challenges, business process challenges that we've been able to meet with iSales 100. And then we'll take that a little bit further. We're actually going to look at a few different demo scenarios to give you a sense of the ease with which we can take one single application, iSales, and have it serve in so many different purposes. We'll also look at what's new in version 4, which is available now in the Apple App Store. And then we'll close with talking about opportunities and resources for you, as well as questions that you might have that come up during the course of this session. So a little background on xkzero's applications. We're the publishers of GetX. We think it's the single most powerful button that you can add to your Sage 100 ERP system, bringing Google-like search native within Sage 100. At xkzero, we also offer what we call xkzero technical services, and that's custom programming and development of wide range of nature. So we do provide X programming, but we also offer advanced scripting and SQL services, as well as advanced Crystal. We have our own set of web services as well too. So if there are custom web or mobile projects that we can help you with, we'd love to hear from you about that. Another mobile app that we have is targeted very heavily to the food and beverage industry, but it's also catered to anyone who has very sophisticated sales and delivery automation. We call that product xkzero Mobile Commerce. So it does things like building loads for trucks and defining routes for sales reps and customers, and has wonderful business intelligence tools like survey application and dashboarding and things of that nature. So we hope you'll keep us in mind for those kinds of opportunities. But today we're going to talk more about iSales, iSales 100 specifically, which has now been out for 3 years. So with iSales 100, first of all, what makes it special, we think, is our xkzero development team. So we're a company that's in full control of the development cycle. We don't rely on any outsourced developers or anything like that. So we're Apple iOS developers, we're Sage 100 ERP Gold development partners, and we also publish our own web services. So at xkzero, while we do work with SData and some other web technologies, in most cases we found that the flexibility of our own web services make the best fit for these kinds of things, and that's certainly the tool that we employ with iSales 100. So, we think that with that team and with our experience over the last few years with the product is, what we've created is the finest sales app for Sage 100 ERP. And we're really focused on a few things, creating the best user experience and making a product that's very effective. And we do that by having a flexible, configurable application, the kind of configuration that companies who buy a product like Sage 100 in the first place would expect to have. And then with very tight, seamless integration, which really requires nothing on the part of the end user company to pass the information back and forth between the iPhone or the iPad and the Sage 100 on the back end. So, speaking of best user experience, it's nice to talk about the voice from the customer. So this is from the president of one of our clients, Andy Graham, who says it's so easy, even management can use it, which, being part of management in a company, I have a lot of appreciation for. But it's also worth noting that this company, Infinite Peripherals, happens to be the manufacturer, the leading manufacturer of POS devices for Apple iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touches. And they even equip Apple themselves and their Apple stores with credit card swipe devices, printers, and scanners, and things of that nature. And their ERP of choice is Sage 100, and they equip their salespeople with iSales 100. So, in terms of effectiveness, there are a lot of people in the marketplace. There's no doubt that there's a relative slow adaptation of mobile to enterprise class businesses, and a lot of people attribute that to a certain level of complexity. But another part of the problem is rigidity that we've seen in the application. So, a study the Aberdeen Group published in August of last year called Mobile ERP, Taking ROI into Your Own Hands, in that they made a strong statement about saying that when mobile ERP apps are tailored to meet the needs of the individual or the role in the organization, that's when you achieve high levels of adaptation. So that's really one of the premises that we built iSales on in the first place, is the ability to adapt to individual needs or individual roles within an organization to make sure that we're creating that great user experience, because we recognize there's not necessarily just one user experience. There could be multiple user experiences that a single company needs to be able to create. Here's a person, the author of a book called $1 Billion Apps, Alex Branton, says that linking apps to a company's back-end system, that's where it starts to get hard. And I'll say that I agree with that statement when you don't know the ERP, when you're not expert in the ERP. There are companies that are out there who are developers of some great looking mobile applications who are not expert in the ERP systems, and so they start to get a little bit glassy-eyed when it comes to having those integrations. So if you are working with a company who's expert in the ERP and expert in the mobile app development, this barrier goes down. So, a little bit of, what this looks like in terms of flexibility for us, and we'll see this in the demo as well, is that, we feel like we put ourselves in a position to follow your rules better than anyone. So what we decided to build Sage or iSales 100 with is a native integration, a module where you can set up to allow anyone, an end user, resellers such as yourselves, to build all of the different profiles for the users of the app. So, every single iSales user downloads the app from the Apple App Store, but then every single user potentially has a very unique experience using the app. So you'll even see in this screen grab here, if you look over on the left, there are check boxes for allowing creation of orders, quotes, invoices, and credit memos. So, what we've done at the user level is, with regards to customers, items, transactions, and so on, is build all of the rules that we need to be able to create that proper experience. So just a few things, kind of frame of reference as you're thinking about mobile with your customers and how to approach them and who to approach and all of that. And, our experience over the last 3 or so years has been greater than 90% of the customers who've been going with mobile sales apps are replacing manual processes. This is happening at an increasing rate, and the companies who are switching from manual processes, which can be a product catalog, it can be paper and pencil, it can be fax machine, using cell phones, all of those things, they're not turning back. They're moving forward and they're increasing in numbers. So the sales tools are becoming leaner, more accessible, less expensive, and less redundant. So, what I'll encourage you to do is think more expansively about your customer base and who might be interested in mobile, rather than thinking in a more restricted sort of way, because we're seeing more and more industries and more different types of companies move into mobile technology. And when you're starting that conversation with your customers, remember to be focused on the benefits to them. You want to have strong awareness of their industry, a good understanding of how it's going to be deployed, the full scope of what they want to do, and then also be talking with them about, how can we use some of the special characteristics of that iPhone or that iPad or even the Android devices that they might have to create a new experience for their customers. When we think about benefits, keep in mind sales acceleration, accelerating the entire supply chain, capturing the sale when the customer is ready, really creating a different experience so your customers can stand out against their competitors in the way that they're able to do business, the speed they can do it, and the quality of the experience that they're able to provide their customers, including improved decision making because they have so much information at their fingertips. Industry considerations are really important too. If it's a heavy repair type of environment, if it's a rental type of environment, these kinds of things, if it's a point of sale type of environment, when they want to use an iPad, if they want to use a phone, if they want to use a Microsoft Surface or something like that, have a keen awareness of the industry that they're in, because not all applications are going to be suitable for every possible industry. And the other thing is be very mindful of the range of transactions that your customers might want to do. So, when we think about mobile sales, some people might think about invoicing, but it could be quotes, it could be route selling, it could be deliveries or credits, or maybe they want to track when there's no order, those kinds of things. Perhaps they want to integrate payments and so on. So, be aware of those things. And that really kind of sets the table for the unique experience that iSales can do so well. So next we're going to take a look at the profile of a few customers and some of the things that they've been able to do by automating processes. And by the way, all of these solutions that we're looking at here are situations where there were manual processes that were replaced. So this is a profile of an ethnic foods wholesaler. Actually happens to be, the company does wholesale distribution, but they also own the largest chain of Indian and Pakistani grocery stores in the US. So they have all these company-owned stores, and part of their distribution is to supply stock of their own products in the stores. So their prior process was a process of every day walking the aisles, visually inspecting the aisles, and doing counts, figuring out how much space they had for additional product, filling out a quantity on a clipboard after they found the item on the clipboard. And then once they had gone through all of the different aisles and compiled their new order, what they would do is they would fax that in to the wholesale supplier parent company, and then those orders would get rekeyed in Sage 100 to be picked and delivered the next day to the grocery store. Well, what we were able to do with iSales 100 is put those clipboards and those fax machines to rest. So now what they do is they have an application. So each store logs into iSales 100 and they're able to walk the aisles with iPad minis, and they have a scanner attachment for the iPad mini. One of the things that they don't want the store personnel to know is the price, right? What is the store's cost, essentially to the parent company? So we're able to suppress the prices. So all they do is walk through, scan the barcode that's on the shelf, indicate the quantity that they're reordering, and then when they sync those orders, they're not only automatically entered into Sage 100, but they've already indicated on that order the warehouse that those products should be picked from for delivery the next day. So what they've done is eliminated tremendous amount of redundant work. They've accelerated the delivery. They've improved the accuracy greatly for that. In addition, they've sped up the entire process of getting that reordering done. Here's a profile of a company on the East Coast that is a distributor of silk flowers. Challenge for them is they do a lot of selling at trade shows, but one of the things that they have as a company policy is they have minimum order quantities for a number of prices. So iSales has been built where you can put in a minimum order quantity as a UDF at the item level, and there's another field as well that where you can indicate incremental sales quantity after the first one. And so this is all handled by them through barcode scanning from an iPad. So it's been a huge efficiency gain. And one of the things that it does for them is it alerts their salespeople when they're selling in a very mission critical, because it's a customer facing and competitive environment. They're able to indicate, right there on the spot, because the app tells them what the minimum sale quantity is for a particular item. They're no longer reliant on the sales reps memorizing that or having to refer to a book or something like that. So great increased confidence. It satisfies the needs of management and is making for a much better selling experience for that company. Here's a profile of a company that provides stone for landscaping environments, and they have sales reps that are all throughout the U.S. It's about a 10 or 12 person sales force, and they use Sage 100, and the prior process that they had in their sales, always starts with a quote. So they're at the location, the prospect location with the quote, and what they would do previously is they would do everything manual. They would sketch out what the property looked like where they were going to be installing this stone, and then based on the dimensions of what it is that the customer wanted to do, they would make estimates of the product that would have to be delivered as part of that deal. Now what they're able to do with iSales using their iPad is we've integrated with a sketch application, and they're actually able to do their drawings right on the iPad, and then that sketch becomes a line level attachment. Actually, I think I misstated that. I believe it's a header level attachment that automatically comes in with the quote. So they still do the product estimating and all of that stuff, and they enter that as part of the quote. But now what they're able to do is they're able to transmit to the back to the home office where the installers reside, the people who do the final pricing for these products, and they're able to view right within Sage 100. They have a view of that sketch, so they can see exactly where the product is going to be installed, and greatly improve the communication between the sales reps in the field and the back office people who do the final pricing. All right, here's an important one too, for all you cat and dog lovers. Whether you're in veterinary supplies or you could be in medical supplies, but this is a profile of a company that with sales reps who travel to animal hospitals, animal clinics, and so on, and they'll potentially sell products right there on the spot. So veterinary products, as like other medical devices, can be subject to regulatory requirements, tracking lots and serial numbers and things of that nature. So iSales 100 allows you to indicate when you do an order, invoice, or credit memo if we need to be tracking lots or serial numbers for that. So what that's doing with those sales reps is allowing them to complete everything on the spot. It's giving them the ability to commit a particular serial number or a lot number right there on the spot and have that fully communicated to the back office. So it improves the whole process of costing, streamlined sale, and confidence that the reps have. And then this is one of my favorites, and this is about a beauty supply company in California. And this is a company that also has about 10 or 12 sales reps with about 600 customers. And the customers are primarily retailers and so on. And the sales reps will visit these retailers and salons, and they will take orders for beauty supplies. So they're not traveling around with product, but instead what they're doing is they're going out and maintaining those relationships and taking orders. Well, one of the problems that the company had is that in their territory they had a lot of customers who were quite rural, quite far out, 25, 30, maybe 40 miles from the nearest warehouse and from where the sales office was. And ownership felt that it was becoming not only labor intensive, but just in terms of fuel costs and other travel costs to get there. And so, what we were able to do with them for iSales is actually allow them to offer each individual customer to download the app and then place their order. So what they've done is they've transitioned a number of these relationships, the far-flung rural customers that are just difficult to get to on a regular basis, where they've changed that process now where they phone them instead, just to make sure that they're keeping that relationship alive, but their customers have iSales downloaded on their phone. They're able to walk the aisles themselves and place the orders back into this beauty supply distribution company. And another thing that they're able to take advantage of is iSales is multi-language enabled and Spanish translated. So the only thing they have to do to allow a user to use iSales 100 in the Spanish language is change the language preference on their iPhone or on their iPad, and that happens automatically for them, which we think is awfully cool. So I'm going to walk through a couple of different demo scenarios, and I hope you'll bear with me here as I pass back and forth between the presentation and the application itself too. And we're going to be going between the back end of Sage 100 and the mobile app too. So in this transition here, and a couple of these transitions, it'll take a brief moment for me to go between the two. But the first thing I want to do, I had talked about that beauty supply company. One of the great things about iSales 100 is we sell only on an unlimited device model. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but what that allows a company to do is think much bigger about the application, thinking in terms of the power of confidence, of having information at your fingertips by being able to give, if you choose, every person in your company access to having customer and inventory information on their phone or on their tablet. So we're just going to take a look and see what it takes to be able to create a user and turn it into a B2B type application. So this is a case here where, if I want to have a campaign like that beauty supply company to go out to my customers and offer them an app to be able to place their own orders, but not have to do a website that I need to maintain or build and all of that stuff, but just to use an app that's already in existence to do that, well, that's what we're going to do right here. So the first place I'm going to go is I'm going to go to my back end. And you'll notice that here, this is the remote user maintenance for iSales 100. And I'm going to create a user that I'm going to call ABF. All right. And furthermore, I'm going to say that it's American Business Futures. And because everyone is here on this call is a Sage 100 business partner. You're all familiar with American Business Futures. So I'm going to set up a password for them. I'm going to call that ABF and ABF. And iSales 100 is natively a multi-company application, and we license it that way. So we don't care how many different companies, if you have 10, 20, 50 different companies, we don't care. You can use iSales this way because you can create unlimited users, unlimited companies to be able to use the application. So I'm going to map ABF's order to the ABC company. And one of the things that we have to do is we have to indicate a sales rep who's going to get credit for that. So let's say that ABF is Jim Kentley's account. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You'll notice that I have rules here, like I can automatically hide quantity information on a device, or I can hide pricing, right? Those are some of the strengths for that. We'll come back a little bit later on this, but you'll see here when I filter my customers that I'm able to go in and indicate customer number equal to, and I happen to know that ABF's customer number is ABF. So I'm going to go ahead and set them up as a customer. And I want to make sure that they've got permissions for some inventory items, and they do. And I want to make sure that they've got permissions here. I'm going to allow them to create orders. I'm going to require them to put a signature on it. I'm not going to allow them, to modify a price. And I think and I want to automatically put their orders on hold when they come in. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. Now the next place I'm going to go to is I'm going to call up my iPhone. So here's one of those transitions again. All right, and there's my iPhone, and here's iSales 100. Now you'll see when I'm in this mode right here, I'm actually logged in currently. I'll show you as a user called demo. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset my device, and I'm going to log in again. So I'm resetting the device, and I'm going to log in now as ABF. And this is something that your end user customer, ABF, would only have to do once. All right, so now you'll see this has changed where I have no customers, I've got no items. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to synchronize my data. And this is going to go through, and this is a very fast process. It's really contingent on the speed of the Wi-Fi or the cellular connection that you have. And what it does is not only is it pulling down new data for me, but it's also building in whatever rules I've just set for that user as well. So when I tap on customers, you can see I only have one customer, but now they have access to their open orders. So they can see all their open orders, they can see their open invoices, they can see a summary of their aging. They can also do a new transaction. So you'll notice that I only put one order type that's in there. So we're going to do a sales order, and I'm not going to stop at this point right here and show every single thing that they're able to do, but instead I'm just very quickly going to go through and add in an item for a sale. And look at that, I have a minimum sale quantity there. Is that okay to save that line with just one? And I'm going to say yes to that. So now when I save it, I try to save it and it says, whoops, I can't save it. I need to add a signature. And so I'm going to go ahead and save that signature and put that back in. In the meanwhile, actually, let me do this. I'm going to do sync transaction, and I'm going to go ahead and push that back in. So, I really, I don't want to, overstate this too much, but, the ease of which I just did this right here it's really that easy for the customer too. There isn't I don't have anything, especially extraordinary that I've set up here to have that done. So there's the American Business Futures. I should have one at $84, of that item, and that's the new sales order that created for that. So, what you saw in, probably less than 2 minutes time was setting up a user, and then putting in an order, following these rules that I had just set up for them. Now, later I can go, maybe they're not a customer anymore, or something hasn't gone right, for them. I can go ahead and disable that information. You know what? I want to point out one other thing while I'm here too. I can also require them to synchronize data each time they access the application, or every day that they do the application too. So, by disabling that user, the next time I go to synchronize data here, you'll see what happens. Now I have a invalid login. So it's just like that. I can disable and control users. So I think what you're starting to see here is that I don't need a technical consultant. I don't need my IT department. I don't need anyone. I can either be a functional Sage 100 consultant, or I can be the end user myself who's setting these kinds of things up. All right. So that's just a brief look at creating a B2B app that you can give to customers. It's that simple. All right, next one, I'm going to live out on the edge a little bit more. I'm going to talk about the scenario where we might be at a trade show, or we might be in a high volume type of environment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some barcode scanning, and I'm going to use my iPad for that. And the reason is the only scanning device that I happen to have with me today is for the iPad. And here are the steps right here. Attach the scanner, start scanning. This is part of the beauty of the technology of the hardware devices themselves. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my phone, and I'm going to, here's another thing I want to do here. This feels a little bit risky, and I'm really not dressed for the part today, but I'm going to go ahead. Hello, everyone. So here's my iPad right here with iSales, and this is my scanner device. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking the iPad, and I'm just putting this, it's a clip that I put right here on the edge, and then I have pre-printed for myself, just for convenience, some barcodes. All right, now I'm going to display this iPad. Okay, and you'll see back here that I have a bunch of customers here, and I'm going to go to my old standby American Business Futures, and I'm going to start a new transaction. All right, so all I have to do is start a new transaction, and now I'm going to go here and I'm going to scan, and you'll see, sorry, I'm trying to look to make sure that you can see me. You'll see as I scan, it's automatically incrementing, and then as I go to the next item, each scan is incrementing it further and further. So you'll see as builds my order, as I go. Okay, so I'm going to save that guy, and now I have a transaction there that I'm going to sync back to my back end. And so this could be, this is in the exact same company code, right? I'm going to sign off here on the camera. So I just went ahead and synchronized that, and I know I have a bunch of stuff kind of all going on at once here, but now I should be able to go into sales order, and I'm in sales order. Here's American Business Futures, another one, and I just added all these items with these quantities that I just scanned. So maybe I have a sales rep who's out at a customer site, maybe who's working with a salesperson using this same iSales. Maybe I have a customer who's got my app in their pocket, managing their own account at the same time. And maybe I've got another rep who's at a trade show, doing barcode scanning, all using the same iSales application. No programming, no complicated configuration. It works just like that. All right. And I have, I think, one more scenario that I wanted to set up here, and that's really, you're getting the sense that, the spirit that we've built this in is trying to help as many people, as we can. So, when we think about a sales app that can benefit everyone, the unlimited device license model is a real foundational piece for that. So we can think in terms of taking the app and giving it to executives, to giving it to customer service reps, to giving it to accounts receivable folks, and so on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take iSales and we're going to create a situation for an inquiry-only user, somebody who can't do any transactions whatsoever. And so maybe this is for a customer sales rep, and you'll see the uncomplicated steps here of creating a user in Sage 100, assigning permissions, and then synchronizing the data. Now, when I talk about setting up a user in Sage 100, you'll notice that we're not consuming user licenses for Sage 100. Actually, the only time that there's a user license that's set up, the only time we consume a user license is there's the, I forget the name of the license, but it resides on the server, what's it called, the PVX.com or something like that, that's used for Sage CRM integration. We talk with Sage 100 through that license, and that's only happening when a synchronization is taking place. And just so you know, multiple synchronizations can be taking place at the same time, against that. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to call this person Sue Inquiry. Right, so now I'm setting up a new user here, and I'm going to give Sue a password called xkzero, and it's going to be ABC Company. And on this one, maybe I have to assign it to somebody, so maybe that would be a house account or something like that. All right, so maybe I want to show my inventory items, but I don't want to show pricing for this. Maybe I want to hide quantities and so on. I definitely don't want them to be able to create a customer, but maybe I want them to be able to see memos, and maybe I want them to see last purchase history for the customer. So I'm going to give them the ability to do that. And if Sue is customer service rep, maybe I want to be able to include more customers instead of less. So I'm going to open up a wider range of customers. In fact, this should be bringing them all down for me. Maybe I want to show all inventory items, but perhaps this person only works in a certain territory, so I only want this person to be able to see inventory items in one of a couple of different warehouses. And I definitely want that person to be able to see raw materials including discontinued items. I'll mention, by the way, that we can display up to 8 additional fields, including user-defined fields, and we can do that at the item level and at the customer level. And then over on new transactions here, I'm turning off allowing create orders. So you'll see what happens here. Suddenly these are all grayed out because I'm turning this into an inquiry-only app. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to return back to my iPhone and minimize that. There's my iPhone again, and I've got a little bit of a delay. There we go. Now I need to reset my device again. There we go. Reset the device, and I'm going to log in now as Sue, and password xkzero. All right, and there's Sue, and now I'm going to synchronize. So, think about this. Even, in terms of, you'll see I don't even have the shopping cart here anymore. So this is about creating a user experience. We're only providing them with what we need for them to be able to have. So, with Sue, if Sue's thinking about, she's sitting at her kid's soccer game and her kid's either winning by a blowout or losing by a blowout, I'm going to search for my Milwaukee customers because maybe I'm going to be talking with those folks tomorrow, and I'll pull up, RNS Supply, and I can see their purchase history, and I can see their open orders, and I can see their open invoices, and so on. But now when I tap on this action button up here, you'll see that I don't have a transaction, right? So I can't do anything, with iSales now except read the data that's been provided to me by my client. So, I've got access to information. By the way, I do want to show, this is a version 4 feature update that we've done, is the ability to filter data more. So we're showing a little bit more information, including the category fields. So now, like if I'm using category field for color, whoops, I can't type. And I'm going to search for everything that's in a category called black. You'll see by typing in black, it's showing all of the matches for black in that display. If I wanted to search for a particular product line, I'll say DC. I search for DC and you'll see it found a match on my product line for everything that's DC. If it's part of an inventory item, and it's a lamp, so now I'm going to search on a lamp and you'll see it's part of that. So very strong search capability and very strong filtering capability at the item, contact, and customer level. All right, I think we're done with the demos. And so we're coming into the home stretch here. I wanted to talk about a few things. Software licensing for iSales 100. Again, this is we only offer an unlimited user, unlimited company model. We have 3 different levels of pricing based on the functionality that's needed by the customer. These are perpetual licenses that are subject to annual maintenance and support. The starting fee for the inquiry-only edition is $49.95. The average deal size, just so you know as a partner, is about $12K. $15K really buys you all of the functionality, but we've had situations where companies have had unique requirements, and we've had iSales deals as big as $35K and $50K to accommodate some of the needs of larger installs. So these are nice revenue opportunities. Here's the important thing to understand when it comes to mobile sales, that more and more companies in more different industries are becoming interested in the ROI possibilities that they have for themselves. And when they're able to find an application that will do exactly what it needs for them to do, money is not the issue. You can have a very fast ROI using this type of application. In terms of implementation, the initial implementation, for everything is done by xkzero, and it's a very nominal fixed fee price as part of the implementation. But you should understand, the option for you as a partner to really perform just about anything. Short of the installation of the web services and some of the security configurations on the server, which will initially take the involvement at the time of installation, some cooperation with either you as a partner or the end user customer to get that going. In terms of setting up, training the customers and so on, you can potentially do all of that work for yourself, and we're not necessarily needed for that. We have a summer promotion that's going on right now. So for any of the xkzero mobile apps or any fixed price project through xkzero Technical Services, we're offering to you as a partner a free 1-year license of GetX. That's a resaleable copy of GetX, which you can either give to whoever's buying the mobile app from you, or you could choose to give it to anybody else to sweeten a new deal, to give to somebody as part of an upgrade, those kinds of things. From a technology standpoint, iSales is an Apple-only product, so we support iOS 7 and 8 on the iPad, all the iPad, iPhones, and iPod Touches that support iOS 7 and iOS 8. In terms of Sage 100, we support version 2015, where I'm doing the demo today, back to version 4.5. Version 4 became available on the Apple App Store last week. In that, we added, as part of standard functionality now, the ability to control items with lot and serial number tracking. We do have a video on our blog site that shows the functionality of that, just a brief little 2-minute video. We've added more payment flexibility in terms of terms codes, so now you can select and override terms codes. Like everything with iSales, on a permission basis. We redid the email receipt format. It was HTML, but between various browsers, operating systems, and so on the receiving end, email systems, email clients, HTML turned out to be more of a challenge than it was worth. We've converted the receipt format to being a PDF attachment. And then we also, with version 4, improved the search and retrieval of inventory items by adding the searchability of the 4 categories, as well as the ability to filter straight into regular items, miscellaneous charges, miscellaneous items, and comments as well. In terms of engagement with xkzero, whoops, I'm gonna back up, see if I can back up a slide. All right, try again, Paul. One click. There we go. Please visit us at Sage Summit. Booth 522. We'll be there all week. I'm fortunate enough to have 2 different speaking engagements. Why Mobile, Why Now? A Decision Maker's Guide to Business Success, and Disrupt Your Industry, Making Your Mobile Dream a Reality. The first of those is Tuesday at 4:30 in the afternoon. The second is Wednesday at 4:30 in the afternoon. For those of you who are 90 Minds members or who would like to be 90 Minds members, xkzero's Alnor Kassim is presenting a 2-day 90 Minds for the 90 Minds group intermediate scripting class for Sage 100 ERP. That is a first for that class, so you won't want to miss it if you're already underway with scripting. If you're not already underway with scripting and you'd like to be, a week from today at 11 a.m. Central, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific, Alnor will be presenting a 90-minute introduction to scripting. It's free. We're actually going to use an example of a real-life script, so if you wish, you can play along at home and create a brand new script as Alnor teaches you how to do that. And then from there, allow you to start to build more of a foundation to be able to create those for your own customers.